Paul utter the progressive word. That was surprising. Has there been some spending increases? We could attribute to that. Attribute that to a number of things. In addition to inflation and population growth, probably the largest share has been growth in healthcare costs. Something again that we could have a whole other debate on. There's been an unwillingness to deal with that issue. But again, one of the basic core services that I think we all expect. If you look at the state budget, about 75% of it is education and healthcare. The other 25% is pretty much everything else. So when we talk about where do we cut and where are these dollars going to come from magically, unless we decide that we're just going to, and I have a couple of great budget saving ideas. We could eliminate the first and second grade. That would probably save us $500 or $600 million. Is it really what we want to do as a community? When you look at our budget, there aren't these bells and whistles. And the spaceport and rail runner, whether you think they're good ideas, I wasn't crazy about the spaceport. I'm still not. But the fact of the matter is that maintaining that facility is rounding error in our budget. We can argue whether or not that was a good capital investment, and I would probably say, well, and Kelly would probably disagree with me. I don't think it was the best idea in the world. I think the rail runner was a good idea. But the orders of magnitude, when you talk about combining agencies and servicing the rail runner, which many would say is an investment in public infrastructure that we need. But even if we took all of those, we're talking about very small amounts of money, considering that 75% of the core mission of state government is education and healthcare. So that's where we're going to cut. If the argument is let's find some economies there, let's cut that further, then we are going to see bigger class sizes. We are going to see more people being kicked off of coverage for healthcare, more people with disabilities or declined services, more people with behavioral health and mental health needs basically being turned away. That's the other side of this. This is not, gee, are we going to have 3 jets or 4 jets? Those days are gone. This is really about getting to the basics of what government does. And who are we talking about? We're not talking, when we talk about public services or community services, often we think of some guy sitting in a back room filing papers. We're talking about police officers and firefighters and nurses and teachers, because that is the overwhelming bulk of what we talk about when we talk about community services. That's where most of the employment is. In fact, in education, most of the budget, most of the people in education aren't administrators, they're teachers. And when we talk about cutting that fat out of administration, you could blow up the entire top 4 floors of APS. Some people want to do that. I don't recommend it. Again, you're talking a couple of $1 million here. When you start talking about cutting administration, you're talking about social workers and nurses and people who intervene and make students succeed. We can talk about these wonderful private sector models or the Harlem Children's Zone, or we can talk about how great charters are. You know what makes them successful? They're small and they invest heavily, in addition to good teaching, into supporting the whole child, something that we're being told we need to disinvest in now. So have we grown spending? Yes, because for many, many years we underinvested in education. We underinvested in healthcare. There's a reason why we've been pervasively 48th or 49th in education and in healthcare coverage in New Mexico. It's because we haven't invested in it. So there were some things I agree with and disagree with it when we had this windfall from oil and gas prices rising. One of the things I disagree with is we didn't put more into filling those holes that we have been facing for years and years. And to say now, let's dig ourselves back to where we were, is just not a good future for New Mexico.